Welcome to Winning STL, where we have conversations about how St. Louis can best compete and win in the battle for talent, jobs, growth, and equity. Winning STL is presented by Purina, who creates richer lives for pets and the people who love them, and has proudly called St. Louis home since 1894. Joining me today is Katie Lee, owner and CEO of Katie's Pizza and Pasta. You can enjoy her pizza or pasta at any of the 3 locations in the St. Louis area, including here at Ballpark Village, or pick up some frozen pizza and pasta at numerous grocery locations in the St. Louis area. And later this year, you can find Katie's Pizza at Walmarts around the country. So Katie, thank you so much for being on Winning STL and for hosting us in your beautiful restaurant.
Thank you for having me.
So Katie, you have this amazing and harrowing personal story of addiction and survival, and you turned it into a book, and that's being released in serial. I've had the chance to read the first installment. It is quite riveting. So what made you want to tell your story? Why now?
Oh, goodness. I think, first of all, it's a good one, just like everyone, but there's a lot of great things that are happening now, and a lot of growth in my company, and a lot of realization of what life's about. I just had 2 really close people. The founders, 2 of the 3 passed away. Mm-hmm. And the book was really written as a way to process all of that mourning, and those 2, my father and then my other father figure, Rolando. And I just started writing and then realized, this is really, I think, going to be special for people, because we all have this, these moments in life. Life is really tough. Right. But to show that you can come out of it, overcome while still going through it at the same time. It never ends. But showed, I guess, just like some hope. And then also it was just very cathartic for me to do it. It became probably my most unforeseen creative outlet. And now I feel like writing is a very special thing to me. So I really enjoyed it. Felt like I got better as the chapters were written.
Sure.
And just to be able to share that is, an incredibly special experience. And I have a little girl who's 6, so she'll get to, read it someday. Not yet, though.
Yeah, little early, perhaps. Well, everyone has a story, and that's true, but not everyone has this story.
Yeah, right.
This story is it's very dramatic. It was, like I said, I think I used the word riveting, but it was also at times like, wow, it's very intense. Was it hard to write? Or did it just feel like, no, it feels really good?
Like that good pain. It was like that good pain, right? It was hard at times, very hard. It was reliving a lot of things that I hadn't thought about in a long time, maybe reliving them for the first time. And then writing is a beautiful experience because it slows down the thought process. So and then the way I edit, I rewrite things many, many times. I got to really slow these experiences down for the first time and process them. So it was, and then I have a sense of humor. So it was, nice to lighten it up and look back. I bet, when you go through it, you realize when you go through stuff like that everything's always okay. I don't know, that was one thing I realized after my father passing, because we were so close, and it was, we were so codependent, and so it was a huge, huge hole. And then I realized after a year or 2, I'm okay. And then I looked back, and all of these things, I guess that's ultimately the message, is that we're built to get through more than we realize.
The word survival came up when I read that first installment, The Last Stop, is, you're surviving day to day to day.
Yeah.
In any of those moments, did you ever think, I could do this? I have a background in restaurants, family's got a background in this, I could do it? Or was that just so far out of your mind for where am I going to stay tonight and how am I going to eat?
Both. I think I have, glimpses throughout the day or the week, and still do, moments of knowing my potential or hoping for an incredible potential, feeling something inside, and then moments where I feel completely defeated. Yeah, and or I'm just in the moment, like you said, when you're surviving, you're really stuck in just that moment. But no, I've always felt and known that this was my path. I got lucky figuring it out very early on through a series of events that put me into the restaurant business. One being a high school dropout, so really a ninth grade education, never went to college, so restaurants will take you.
That's right.
Number 2, I have an aunt who was a restaurateur.
Very famous one.
Yeah, very famous one of the best ever.
Yeah.
Zoe. So grew up seeing that. And then my mother lived in Italy. So all of those things brought me to this place. And luckily I felt something inside and knew this was what I was going to do. Probably at the age of, I would say 15. I wrote my first business plan at 19 for Katie's Pizza. So I got lucky. Well, you get lucky when you figure it out that early. Yeah.
So let me ask, do these kind of wild experiences of addiction and survival, as we've said, how does it influence you in your running your business today?
I've seen a lot of sides of people and myself, right? So I have a good library of interaction.
Right. Yeah, I would think so.
That's helpful. And then I also don't take maybe things that other people take seriously as seriously.
Okay.
I'm able to go through stressful things with ease.
Maybe since once you've been through some of those moments, you can get through a tough dinner service.
COVID was a great example of that. You know, it was a very stressful time where everyone felt like they were, existential crisis and we're all going to lose our businesses and our lives and our loved ones. And I seized that moment and was like, I don't know how to explain it, but I think a lot of people naturally freeze. And I was, motivated and pushed into action. And now we have this huge consumer packaged goods business because of it.
But there's a lot of places that have great food that did not make it.
Yeah.
And that close every year. Mm-hmm. But yours has thrived and you have 3 locations. What's the secret? How have you made that work?
Absolutely just not giving up, even when you're very close to the edge, which I've been very, very close to the edge many, many times. And just continuing to push forward, I think, is the biggest one. The people are very important. So when you can figure out how to lead a team, which I've had years of failing at, and lots of turnover. Sure. But when you can figure that part out, they can carry you and the business much farther than you can, forcing it. So that's been a big one. But I think just really loving it. Like I said, I got lucky. I love it. I love food. I love hospitality. I love making people feel good, my team and my guests. And I never get sick of it or burnt out. I don't know how to explain it. But then even when I get close to, disasters, because disasters happen constantly,
Sure.
I just don't stop. There's been probably, 50 moments where you could put it down on paper and hand it to someone and they would say, you have to close tomorrow. And I just don't see it that way.
Right. And to me, what's really fascinating about your story, you have this very successful restaurant career, but you've branched out into packaged foods. Was it COVID that got you in this?
100%. I mean, the story is really interesting. So prior to COVID, I attempted to get into the meal kit business. Okay. Blue Apron had just come out, HelloFresh, and I thought, well, we can do that. So we attempted it. We named it Vero meal kits, which means real in Italian. So real meal kits, and we sent out fresh dough, fresh pasta, all of the raw ingredients for people to cook at home, recipe cards, tutorials, and we found out it's very hard to ship and very expensive to ship fresh food.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Yeah. And then also people really, really don't want to cook. They don't want to take a 30, 45 minute. I mean, some people do, but not enough
most people
to sustain, a big business. And you'll notice that with Blue Apron and HelloFresh, there's these incredible deals happening constantly. They're just, they're kind of, as someone in the business, you can tell they're just trying to get people to cook. And so it was difficult for me I also had gotten pregnant for the first time, and that was hard. So I closed that business down.
Okay.
I still had a lease on the space that I had been paying for about a year. And then COVID happened, and Rolando, my dear friend who started the company with me,
Right.
died a week before COVID happened.
Oh, wow.
I know. Of COVID, in the ICU, in my arms, before they shut everything down, with our whole kitchen staff there. It's that chapter's pretty intense. But so he passes away, and the next week they announced that there's this COVID thing, and they're probably going to shut down dining rooms. And coming from what I've come from, I really don't have anything else to fall back on.
Right.
I've got to figure it out.
Right.
And maybe I'm, feeling this energy from this really important person that's passed. And I just kind of, had gotten so close with the team after that passing and realized we cannot let these people just go off without a job. And, I know what happens when you lose things and how difficult and the spiral that can happen. And also, I don't have anything to fall back on if these restaurants don't work out. So within 3 days, 72 hours, we all came together and we said, what are we going to do? We know people don't want to cook these big meals, but we've got to get food into people's homes.
Right. They do need to eat.
And so, ding, 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 it was like the most obvious thing, a frozen pizza,
Right.
which I wish I would have figured that
earlier.
And so we immediately made one of our real pizzas in the restaurant, hand-stretched wood-fired, froze it, cryovacked it, came back 2 days later, cooked it, realized it was amazing, and went back to the web developer who had our meal kit company, and I said, can you help me put together an e-commerce site really, really quickly? I needed this to happen quickly.
Survival.
So I stayed up with him all night. I took all the pictures on my iPhone because I can't get photographers in.
Of course.
So all of these things that you couldn't do before. So I take all the pictures, I write all the copy, we're on the phone, we're doing this virtually before Zoom, just on the phone. We get the website up, and so the idea was the dining rooms will be turned into assembly lines, and we're going to make these frozen pizzas. At night, we're going to drive them to the old meal kit company, turn on the lights, and put them in the walk-in freezer we have there. Because we don't have freezers in these restaurants except for gelato. Sure. This is a freshly made.
You didn't build it with that in mind, of course.
So we drive it there, we freeze it, and then we kick on the site, and all of the servers and bartenders will essentially become FedEx drivers. So they get $10 a box. They come to the meal kit company every morning. We load up their trunk. We're all outside. We do everything, the best we can and in 6 weeks we sell 50,000 pizzas to the Metro St. Louis area.
That's
yeah.
amazing. Wow.
And so I have never felt, I've always had success, but I've never felt like I've struck gold.
Yeah, I bet.
I just hit it, I knew part of it was that they're supporting a restaurant, but this was bigger than that. Yeah. And there was something, it just continued, and it didn't stop after COVID. And we realized we have to turn this into a real company.
But let's pivot to you wanted to see, St. Louis is great. Let's make this bigger. And
yeah.
So you made a pitch in Bentonville, Arkansas, at
yes.
Walmart. That's got to be an experience.
Yeah, that was
what's that like?
Ago.
Yeah, how did that work?
And so COVID was 4 or 5 years ago. We started to organically grow across the country. We made it into 500 doors across the country. We'd been trying to figure out how to get into a big box store because all of our retailers were small independents like a Deerberg's across the country. So someone says, go down to Bentonville. There's a pitch. They do an open call every year. Thousands of retailers from across the world come to Bentonville for this. I mean, it is the whole city. There's tents, there's, lines of people. So we reserve a slot. I drive down with my chef, Jake. We bring all of our stuff and we, have the sheet. They're going to come in 15 minutes into your cubicle. Okay. And you're going to pitch them. And my intention was, I'm going to start to make the connection here. We're going to start to build. I know how retailers go. It takes many years, but you've got to start somewhere. Let's at least meet a frozen buyer.
Okay.
So we go into this room, the frozen, they say you have 15 minutes. We plug in our little toaster oven so we can do the demo. Wow. And 5 minutes before they arrive, someone comes in and says, you can't have an oven in here.
That's a challenge.
There's a catering hall. You've got to take a shuttle. You can go cook it there and shuttle back.
It's like a bad dream.
They're going to be here in 5 minutes. Yeah, it was a bad dream. And then a minute later, a woman comes back in and says, you can plug in your oven. And she drops off a fire extinguisher.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
It says, we're going to let you plug in the oven. And that's when I knew something was going on, right?
Okay.
So I go in, we do the pitch, and then they say, we'll be right back. I've got to go grab something. He comes back with a camera crew and a big team and a golden ticket. Like it was like I won The Price is Right.
Yeah, no kidding.
And he says, you've won the golden ticket, which I had no idea what that was. And they kind of whisk us away to take photos and interviews, and come to find out the golden ticket is a very special thing. They rarely give them out. And it's an instant, you're instantly in Walmart and you can kind of write your own path. And it was an incredible experience. So now this will be Q3, Q4 of next year, but we will be in Walmart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's great to see a St. Louis business doing well. Well, Katie, I want to thank you so much for telling your story.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for hosting us today. To me, this is really emblematic of what St. Louis is trying to do, which is people pursuing their dreams and their business and making the city, the region better in the process.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.